Hi, I'm Jermaine. Welcome to another Learn, Grow, Invest video. Today we're just going to talk about, just some updates. This is our weekly stock market update video. The highlight, of course, is the EduFocal IPO that closed recently. So I'm going to talk about that, talk about some other things that I've seen on the market for this week. And, I'll also be taking questions from the audience. Those who are here live get to ask me questions. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And we'll just see what else we have to look forward to for next week. So let's go. So if it's your first time here, we're a Bible-based investment community focused on financial education and literacy. We cover all range of topics in terms of investing, personal finance, real estate, cryptocurrencies, and more. And if we just really welcome you to join us. You can learn, ask questions, all of that. So I'm going to open with a quick word of prayer here. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for giving us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We pray, Lord, that as we go through this process of learning about investing, that we'll apply wisdom and that we'll be able to build wealth for our families. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so let's get right into what we want to talk about first, and that's EduFocal. So the offer officially opened on March 3rd. And as you see here, I'm on the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website. At about 12:42 p.m., we got a notice from them that, the IPO is now closed and it was oversubscribed at 9:01 a.m. Now, some persons may be wondering how this is the case. Bear in mind that once the prospectus is out, you can start applying for the IPO. So, what this would have meant is at the point that they, would have taken a look at all the applications they would have received from that point, it was enough to just close the IPO right away, because if these things extend too long, then it's an even greater over subscription, and then those who apply essentially get less. So the earlier it is closed after it's over subscribed, then the more shares that are available for those who apply. All right, so if you think about it, it makes sense. So this is the notice that came out. So what we were told in terms of notices, let me actually find this one here. So it mentions here, again, I'm on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, and it's speaking about the listing ceremony. This was published earlier today. It says that EduFocal Limited will be listed on the junior market of the JSE on Tuesday, March 15th at 9 a.m. The live stream of the listing ceremony will be accessible via JSE's website. And likely it should be on their YouTube channel and Instagram page. Those are the places that I'm used to seeing them streamed as well. So if you want to be a part of that listing ceremony, be sure to check that out if it's your first time and you want to see what the process is like, etc. Next, we're going to look at the basis of allotment, right? Extremely important for those who would have applied and you want to know, if you applied, how many shares you would have received. Now, before I go there, I want to share with you this slide, which speaks about the different pools that were available for those who would have applied. So we see key strategic partners at $1 per share. 35,947,000 units were available. Lenders option at $1 per share. 13,242,000 shares available, and the non-reserve public pool was 80,499,000. So from there, now we can put into context the allotment in terms of what we're going to see here. So it says here, this was released on March 7th. That's about 4 days after the IPO would have opened and closed. And we're seeing here where it says, in relation to the issue, the allocation is as follows. So for the key strategic partners, and I went back to the prospectus to see what that meant. So let me just share that here. Let me zoom in. So the key strategic partner says here, a person that EduFocal currently collaborates with or will collaborate with in the future that is likely to have an important role in EduFocal's future success, namely EduFocal employees, contractors, the lead broker, and a person or entity who will be in the future a key collaborator or provider of critical services, right? So that's what the key strategic partners are. So it says that applications in this reserve pool will receive their predetermined amount, and then applicants who applied for more than their predetermined amount will receive an allocation of 59.67% of the excess for which they would have applied. And so that's what would happen to this particular pool. It says applicants who were not allotted their full amount, the excess balances were transferred to the general pool. And that's what we're seeing here below. So the general pool will receive up to the first 10,000 shares. That's the base allotment, plus a pro rata allocation of approximately 16.57% of the excess. So this means, for example, if you applied for 20,000 shares, you will receive the first 10,000 and 16.57% of the balance. So in the example of 20,000 shares being applied for, you would receive 10,000 plus 16.57% of 10,000. So whatever that excess is, multiply it and add those shares back to the 10,000. And that's the amount that you have to look forward to in terms of your allotment. Now, many persons at this point are still waiting to see the shares listed on their brokerage account or their JTrader. I don't believe I would have seen it on JTrader so far, as in the list of companies. I think that may appear on Monday. There are some Mayberry clients who said they're able to see it listed on their account. I believe I heard that as early as yesterday. So since it starts trading on Tuesday, likely those who have not seen it yet should see it on Monday or going into Tuesday. If you have applied for it but you're not seeing it, speak to your advisor and find out what's happening. But you should, depending on how you apply, there are two main ways that you could have applied, whether through Mayberry or JMMB. Speak to your advisor, find out what's happening, and then you'll hear more about that. All right, so Lori is saying that she's not seeing it. Well, how did you apply, Lori? Did you apply through JMMB or through Mayberry? If you applied through JMMB, check on Monday. If you applied through Mayberry, you should be seeing it already. Okay. So that's the main thing about EduFocal. Now I see photos of Jamaica saying I went hard. I don't know what that means. Tell me. I believe we gave a very fair and objective prospectus review. That's what we always do. We don't show preference or bias to any company. There's some things that I may like or look for personally, but I always encourage persons to invest according to their preferences. So I shared my concerns, I shared the opportunities that I saw, and I believe I gave a fair review. All right. So if you're not familiar with EduFocal at all, then I recommend that you watch our IPO review video. I'll link that in the description after this live ends. So you can watch that video. You'll understand about the company and all of that. All right. Let me see if there is any other news that I want to share about EduFocal. So the ticker for EduFocal will be learn. That's what some persons were that's what some persons were saying. So that's what I believe we should see. So don't look for EduFocal, look for the ticker learn. So that's what you can expect to see. Now, I don't know if I could try to see if it's here already. No, it's not showing here yet. Okay, so it's not showing here. So I'm on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website. We're gonna do our weekly check-in on how some of the stocks would have performed. So I'll do that next. The next announcement that I want to announce here is JFP. Now JFP came out about a week or two before EduFocal. So a lot of persons, I think 2 full weeks before, so persons were wondering what's happening with JFP. You haven't heard anything about it, and so on. They are listing on Monday. So up until this week, persons in our Telegram group were saying that they haven't gotten their refunds yet. They don't know what's happening. So I think persons started to slowly get their refunds this week. I don't know. I haven't done the math yet, but I believe that's either cutting it close to the 10 days or it would have surpassed the 10 days. But I mean, I guess those things happen. So it will be listed on Monday, and EduFocal is listing on Tuesday. All right. And you can see some other updates here. The next one that we're going to talk about, of course, is the stock split for Massey. Now let's look at this news article from JSC. So it says here, further to the advisory that Massey shareholders approve a 20-to-1 stock split effective March 11. That's today. And the price of Massey will be adjusted effective Thursday, March 10th. That was yesterday. And Massey will commence trading at $97.63 on March 10th. And that would be 1/20th of the closing price as at Wednesday, March 9. Now, for those who don't understand, when there's a split date, because of our settlement being 2 days, you would have to be a shareholder as at March 9th to get access to those adjusted shares. And that's pretty much what you're seeing here. So the closing price at the end of March 9th was divided by 20. That price per share was brought down to $97.63. And what will happen is that what it's saying here is that any existing orders in the system, anything that's outside of the range of the adjusted price will be removed and placed in a referred state on the start of Thursday, March 20th. And the additional shares, that's it times 20, will be credited to the qualifying accounts after closing at the end of today. So for those who are saying that they have not seen their shares, they don't know why, that is why. You will see it at the end of trading today. So you may start seeing it already, or going into Monday, you should be seeing it. So if you're wondering what would have happened, that's why. All right. So let's look at how it would have traded today. Now, usually whenever you see a stock split, you may think it's this, great sell-off or something that would have happened. You notice this drop here. All this means is that the price has gone from $1,952 down to the $97.83 that was mentioned. And it just means that, well, for Thursday, the average price for the day was $122.47. And I'm going to get into the technicalities of why the price is what it is here. And today would be $128.20. Let's see what the closing price for today was. Now, you're going to see these numbers being thrown off, right, because of the split. Don't be too overly concerned about that. Because it is a split now, these numbers make sense, right? And I think this is already the new amount of units. So all the existing shares outstanding would have been multiplied by 20, and this is the new amount. And it would have closed the day at last traded at 122. And so let me go actually over to, I like to look at these things on Moneyline. So let me log in. Hope I'm not sharing my screen right now. I don't want you to see my password. You're okay. I don't have any comment about that. I think Nagash is saying that he got his perfect. That's good. That's good to hear. And sometimes these things take time, right? So persons sometimes can get a little frustrated, but you want to be patient, right? Okay, so let us see. Hopefully I can see the screen properly. Yeah, so same thing that we mentioned, would have closed Wednesday. Then you're seeing the split. So, I mean, naturally, you're going to see a lot of volume on Wednesday. So 150,000 units would have traded on that day. I mentioned a few weeks ago that you're likely to see volumes increasing leading up to the split. I was right. So you saw going from Monday 90,000, then 67,000 units, then 150,000 in just 3 days. And that's more than what we would have seen since it was cross-listed, maybe 67,000 here on this day. But for the most part, it's really low volumes. And what you're likely to see going into next week is even more volumes, because remember now, the split has multiplied all the existing shares by 20. So if you look at some of these volumes that you would see here, you're going to see a lot more activity, and that's what persons are counting on based on the split, right? Persons are expecting increased activity, and they're hoping that that will lead to a result of increase in price. So these are what we would have seen today. It's the last traded price we mentioned at before. Volume today as high as 130. So if you look at the 97.63, this is over 30% that it would have from the split price, 30% as high as that, and as low as 122, which is still over 20%. So you're already seeing the effect of the split. So those who were counting on making at least a profit in the short term would be very happy to see that. And let's see, about 29 sell orders, and you're seeing about 83 orders to buy. I expect as more people figure out and understand what is happening, you'll see more and more persons coming. So that's good to see. All right, let us look at another company here. Fesco had an interesting week, and I think it's definitely worth mentioning as well. So let me switch screens for a sec again. Let me close out there. So a lot of persons were just kind of caught up in a whirlwind about Fesco. Last week, we would have seen, I wish I could do this. Oh, I can. Ooh, I love that. Okay. All right, so I'm back on Moneyline. So closing price for today. So last week, a week ago today, Fesco closed at $7.92. 1 week later, $6.50. Now, a lot of persons would say, that's definitely a drop. But if you kind of look down here, this was last week, Friday. It went all the way down this week to about 519. I think some persons said they saw it trading below that, right? We would have to look at the candlestick chart, and then there was a bounce going all the way back up to $7, I believe it traded today. So those persons who would have bought at 519 or lower was looking at almost 30-40% in a day, right? And I believe that's only because 30% or 30 to 32% is the cap based on our circuit breaker rules, right? So what that is saying is that for those who would have taken their profit or exited Fesco last week, the persons who are bullish on the company is coming back, and it's driving that price back up close to where it was. So it's been an interesting thing to see. I know this was one of the stocks that we mentioned in our stocks to watch for this year. So we let me leave it there. But let's see what the orders look like. In terms of total orders, I like to look at that 330 in terms of buy and about 178 sell. Let me see what the volumes look like here. So last week, I think this looks like March 1, that would be about a week and a half ago. That'd be, I think, about Tuesday. 43 million units now. Would have seen the news come out about that 35 million unit trade, and then we saw some other notices come out. So what we're seeing is that directors are buying and selling. So I'll look at that shortly. Let me actually check that out now. So we're seeing a lot of just look at this screen. Trading in shares, trading in shares, trading in shares. That's been happening a lot lately. So right, this is a 38 million one. So on that day that you saw 45, 38 million was through that. And then March 9th, director purchased 2.3 million units on the open market. And then we see on March 11th that director sold on March 9th, 1.1 million units. Now, it's not uncommon after you see so many purchases and the price appreciating so much that you're going to see a sale, because directors are just like us in terms of investors. If there's an opportunity to take profit, you want to take your profit as well, right? Because based on the how prices move, I don't think it's unreasonable for a director. We don't know how many total units this director has. Maybe they just needed to take some profit as well. Who knows, right? But these are the kind of activities that you want to see. There was also an announcement about the $1 billion corporate bond raise. Actually didn't read it. Let me see if I can just look at it now. So it says here, FESCO advises to its valued stakeholders that it has secured debt financing by way of a 5-year corporate bond to be listed on the private market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange with NCB Capital Markets. And the facilities for an aggregate principal sum of 1 billion Jamaican dollars. The proceeds, and this is the part you want to focus on, right? You want to know how they're spending that money. The proceeds will be utilized for general corporate purposes that support FESCO's growth objectives, including working capital, operating expenses, and capital expenditure related to the expansion of its dealership network and service station footprint. That's definitely something that you want to see. An entry into the consumer cooking gas or LPG market, an objective that was outlined in its prospectus. Right, so based on that objective, this is how they're planning to fund it. That is definitely something that you want to see as a shareholder in FESCO, that they're investing in their service station, which will mean more opportunity to generate revenue, right? So that is definitely something that you want to see as a FESCO shareholder. And let us see here. So this is what we spoke about last week. Had the correction this week and back up to in the $6 range. So I think it's safe to say this is one of those stocks that you're going to see quite a bit of activity for. It's just how it is, right? Let's see what else we want to talk about this week. Let me see here. So we spoke about Massey, spoke about JFP. I think that's it for now, right? So let's look at Fontana. So their report came out. Now Fontana had an interesting run up earlier this year. So right around January, I think, last week of January, it was trading under $8, went as high as, I believe, let me see if I can say the high here today, $12.49, right? And then we saw where it went back down to the 10 to 11 range. Then the report came out, the results were flat in terms of, their profits, etc. And that kind of led to, I think persons were anticipating a better report, and persons were waiting to see it go back into the $12 range, but that's not what we saw. And then, instead, let's see if I can go a little bit closer to see the volumes over the last couple of months. Let's go back. So January would have seen 182,000. We haven't seen that amount of volume since. And then we've seen, the most we've seen, well, let me see if I can, when the report came out. The report came out on March 4th. So March 4th would be this day. And that's, I think, the next day, you notice that change in volume between 142,000 and 388. This was the day after the report came out. So I think it came out the Friday. So Monday would have seen that amount of activity. So it's likely to me persons would have been exiting their position after, you know, based on what the report showed. So that's what we're seeing. And it's been hovering around the 9 to, let me see what the candlestick chart shows us. Today, around $10 pretty much. So low $9.70, high $10. And I think, well, let me not speculate where the price would be. But since there's not another report due for now, you may see it within that range for a little bit. All right, let me see some of these questions here. Yes, Negash, whirlwind is an understatement because there's a lot of activity. I know our group was buzzing about it. So yeah, Craig, what was I saying? Tell me. I'll try to close the loop on what I was saying. Let me know. Lauren is asking, does Fontana have a section or website where they tell their investors how they plan to complete their international shipping, since it has become easier, faster? So they do have, let me search for their website. They should have an investor relations section. Now that type of news, you want to go to either their AGM, the next one they have, or look to see if it's in an annual report or something. But let me go to their website. So this is their website. This is the investor relations section. And this is what I'm seeing here. So it has their quarterly reports and their audited financials. So between here and the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, those are the places, as I said, outside of maybe the AGM or somewhere else that might have the information that you're looking for. All right, or maybe just call them and ask them directly if that information is stated somewhere. What are you saying here, Laurie? Remind me of what you're speaking about here. You're saying since it's that low, might cash in on that. Oh, you're talking about Fontana? Well, I would say do your research first. See if, you know, this is a price that you're comfortable entering. That's completely subjective. That's up to you. So take that for what it is. I know which one I'll look at next. Let's look at Spurtree. I think that's the one I want to look at now. And then, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, but I'm going to wrap up this live very soon. And keep it under 30 minutes if possible. All right. So Spurtree. Now, Spurtree hasn't been on the market very long here. January 13th. So it's just about 2 months, right? So from 2 months, $1 at IPO to as high as $4.28, right? So that's 328%, right? So just bear that in mind. Those who are still holding from IPO are extremely happy. I've heard stories of persons buying more since IPO. So, I mean, investors, I'm sure, are happy. On the 19th of January, 25 million units. And so far, it's really 700,000. So let's say about 1 million to 2 million units. That's definitely good to see. Let me, you know, where I'm going to go next, right? Let me see what it looks like today on Moneyline. Right. So opening price today was $379. Last traded $391, as low as $379. So, you know, we're talking in the group about this as well. This is one of those that persons were anticipating some amount of correction, which if you count here, this is January 19. when it went as high as 257, then I think it went to 207 on January 21. That was the lowest point since the high of 257 on the 19th, and it has not been lower, right? So if you were looking for an opportunity to be lower than where it has been trading, because it's, I think from the point it got to $3 here, let me see if it's been any low since. Maybe about here. So it's been trading consistently 200% above IPO price at least. All right, last week would have seen, or was that this week's? This week as high as $4.28. Now, I think the next report for Spurtree is due in a couple of months. I think it's in May. So we have quite a long way from the report. So you may want to just speak to your financial advisor, because at this point, let me see what the PE for Spurtree is at this point. I just want to comment on it. So it's trading at 47 times. So, I mean, speak to your financial advisor, see whether or not this investment suits your needs. But I think it's done. I mean, IPO holders extremely happy. So this has done well. So I think everybody is now waiting to see if JFP and EduFocal will do equally well. That's what we can look for next week. We're definitely going to cover it in our weekly review at the end of next week, so you can stay tuned for that. But yeah, I think it's been interesting this year. I think we're seeing some of what we were seeing before COVID in terms of just the response of the market to investing. I think a lot of new investors are entering the market, and that means there's definitely education that's needed. That's where we come in, because it's easy to get caught up in these prices just going up, and you feel like, you know, is it too late? You know, should I buy now? And you may buy. So for example, those FESCO shareholders who bought at $8.49, they're down almost 20% right now. And that was just a week ago. So imagine you buying into a company at an all-time high, which you can never know when the high will be. And then a week later, you're down 20%. And so that is why I always say to our community, don't chase any investments. You want to wait, make a calculated decision, and you really, I recommend personally, now speak to your financial advisor, I can't say that enough. But one of the things that I like to do is say that there are multiple opportunities to buy. And so if you really like a company, you think they would do well in your portfolio, you want to look for opportunities that present a good moment, in my opinion, to buy. Now, when that is, it really depends on you, because your ideal price may be different from mine. So you like to, I mean, if something is up, let me pause that point. Chrome is saying signed up for the class that we had last week and tried to join. So Chrome, check our YouTube channel. The class is actually up listed. It was, we're leaving it up for a week, so we'll take it down tomorrow at 9:30. So you do have a chance to watch it. We had send out a notice to those who subscribe to our newsletter. We apologize for that. That was a mistake on our part. The Zoom limit was not changed from 100. So once you got to 100, it was full. But we were streaming live to YouTube. So if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and we have a future class, you'll likely be able to catch it on YouTube as well. Very sorry about that. Check it out on our channel, though. We're going to take it down tomorrow. So please do take the chance to watch it. We will not be able to leave it up past tomorrow at 9:30 p.m., right? So sorry for the inconvenience there. All right, so I'm saying that you really want to make sure you're buying at a point. Well, it's two things. Either you want to be strategic about when you buy, or understand that if you buy at what happens to be an all-time high, you have to be willing to either average down your position. So for example, for those who would have bought at 8 and bought the same number of units at 5, your average price would have been $6.50. So as at the end of today, you'd pretty much be almost at break even. But if you bought at $8.49 and did not buy anymore, you're down almost 20%. So one of the things we encourage persons to do is dollar cost average into their position. Now, I'm not telling you to buy Fesco. I'm just saying in general, if you should buy a company and you see that it's down 10, 20, 30% shortly after you buy, you want to think about your time horizon for that company. Now, there are ways to mitigate against that loss, right? Because if you purchased at $8.49 and you said, well, if it goes below 8, I'm going to sell, you could do that. You could actually say to your advisor or set it in JTrader. So you can just say, well, if it's trading too low, I'm just going to exit my position, take a loss and move on. But it depends on your time horizon. If you have a mid to long-term time horizon, then you don't need to panic if it goes down within the first week. If your plan is to hold for 6 months or 12 months or 2 years, you don't want to be price watching in that regard. You want to be patient because the prices of stocks fluctuate. And that's why we look at them so much, because we want you to see that over time it goes up, it goes down, and different things impact when it goes up and down. So you want to zoom out. You want to look at the overall picture. Now, it doesn't go up in a straight line, but if the company is consistently performing, if it was a solid company that you picked to begin with, then if you zoom out to say, okay, over the last 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, how has this stock performed? If it's a good company, you're likely to see that going up over time. But if you watch your portfolio every single day, if you watch the price every single day, you'll get caught up in the whirlwind and you'll either panic sell or you may panic buy, right? That's also a thing as well. You can panic buy thinking that you're going to miss out. You buy and then it turns out to be the wrong decision. So you want to research first. You want to understand what's driving the price, because it may not be earnings. It may be other investors. And it could be that, something is just kind of going off sentiment or momentum. And then after that comes down, then you may not be able to meet your goal if it's a short-term goal based on the price that you entered. Hopefully that makes sense. If you don't understand it, feel free to reach out to me on Telegram and we can talk about it some more. But in general, we advise our community, do not chase. It is something that is extremely important for a brand new investor. You want to set realistic goals. You want to be patient. You want to invest with a realistic number. Now, I've shown you Fesco, I've shown you Spurtree that are up triple-digit percentages within the last couple of weeks or months. This is not standard for every stock. And sometimes what happens in these situations is that you get spoiled in thinking that every stock performs this way, and you may miss an opportunity to have a really good position in a company. And, because maybe you're thinking that, okay, I got the IPO holders for Fesco would have gotten almost 800% last week. Now you may purchase another company this week and you wait a couple of weeks and you're saying, well, this is not going anywhere, let me leave it. But you want to just be sure that you're buying based off solid research. All right. All right. So Lori is saying that a panic buy like Fesco. Exactly. Right. So just understand there are a lot of things that can impact what the price is in the short term. All right. Yes, Shane. Thank you. I'd really, really appreciate it if you like this video. So just a few announcements before I close off. We have our next class that's coming up. So I'm going to share the screen here. So it's on biblical finance and investing. Remember, we are a Bible-based investment community. And this is one of the areas that we have not touched on for a long time. And that's biblical finance. So for those who are interested in understanding what the Bible has to say about stewardship, money, debt, investing, generosity, etc., register for this free class. It will be on June 4th. If you have not done so yet, you can subscribe to our newsletter. That's what you're seeing here. We have about 1,800 persons subscribed. We send out this email every Monday morning. And what you'll see, for example, we'll just, send out, a notice or some information here, send you a link to any class that we're having, send you a link to the videos that we did the week before, etc. So if you subscribe to this newsletter, the link is in the description, then you'll be able to get those updates on a weekly basis. So Harry, the class is done on Zoom, but I think for the next one, we'll do it directly on YouTube because we don't want to risk the same issue that we had on Zoom before. So we likely have the next class and future classes on YouTube. Now with Zoom, it allows us to, I think it feels a lot more personal where you can ask questions, come off mute, etc. But we don't want any potential limitations for persons entering. And we know with YouTube, everybody has access to it. The videos can just be left there for the week. And so we don't want any barriers to entry to consume our content. So we likely do it on YouTube, but in previous times, we do our classes on Zoom. So once you register, the link will be emailed to you and then you can join. And we're using Eventbrite so that you can be reminded via email when the class is coming up. And what we noticed is that sometimes when we email, it goes to your spam or your promotions folder. So if you subscribe, look out for it on Monday, mark it as not junk or not spam, then you'll be able to see the emails every week when they come out. All right. So that is it for our weekly update. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to join us on Telegram if it's your very first time here. And I really do appreciate all you guys. I hope you have a great weekend and look out for our next video coming up very soon. All right.